everybody. Welcome to the Tesla Life number 161. Here we are, the 12th of August, 2020, and the summer continues. Thank goodness. Thank goodness. With us today, as per usual, Mr. Casey Green joins us from the DC area. How are you today, sir?
Doing very well.
What's your temperature in DC today?
Looking at a lovely 85 Fahrenheit.
85 Fahrenheit. That sounds really nice.
And overcast, like it's about to rain again.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm sitting in a Model S 60 loaner today because my vehicle went in mostly for tires. I brought the tires and the car, dropped them off at 10 o'clock on Friday. It was to be done today at 4:30.
What time is it now?
It is now 7:05 on Wednesday, sorry. And I asked him, I was like, will it be ready tomorrow? And he's like, maybe.
Hey, maybe. You can't get that one wrong.
Yeah, that's better than no.
Yeah, this is true. They were going to put me on Uber credits, and I explained to them very kindly that while I was there early for my appointment, I was sitting there looking at 6 loaner cars, and as somebody who is at risk, I would prefer not to be shoved on an hour-long car ride twice with a stranger. And
Understandable.
So they relented, and I got my Lysol wipe, wiped down everything that is touchable inside the car. Found a Model S 60D with coil spring suspension. I knew they existed, but I'd never been in. And it has AP1, which was nice because immediately into a traffic jam coming home.
There you go.
Yeah.
But remember we used
works well for that. Yep.
It does. But you remember we used to say, AP1 is better than AP2, and yeah, it was for a while, but it doesn't hold the candle to Hardware 3. The thing felt like a drunk kid all over the road.
Well, also joining us today, Mr. Patrick Connor from the West Coast, the sunny West Coast, I may add.
Yes, we got the kilowatt hours raining down. It's nice. Charging up Actually, I don't have batteries yet, but so powering our home. How about that? And charging up the vehicles in the garage. Good stuff coming here. So, hello, Tesla Life viewers. Buckle up for our ludicrous ride into a future that's free from fossil fuels.
He just keeps adding to it.
So you can have your weather back. And Mark, when are you getting your power walls?
My power walls are not coming because I don't have any orders.
Oh, yeah. So I talked to them. I got a text message today saying that they're in the permitting process right now.
Okay.
So that depends on my county and how long that takes. And
yeah,
but yeah, the design is done, and here now they're trying to get permits.
There you go. Thankfully, my state made it so that you can't have your HOA block them anymore. So.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
They also made Election Day a holiday, and mail-in voting it doesn't need an excuse anymore. All
right
on time.
And as you can see from Casey's background, he's getting ready to install his power wall in his office. The real question is, how is he going to get his car in his office to charge it too?
Just build a studio in the garage.
There you go. That's how you do it. That's right. Sounds
a little cold in the winter and hot in the summer.
Well, for our first story this week, let's start with the breaking news. Patrick, what's going on?
Oh, yeah. So if you are a Tesla shareholder, good news in that the stock is splitting. For every one that you have today, you're going to have 5 for next month. And somehow 5 nickels is worth more than a quarter, which is really what's happening here. Let's not use nickels because Tesla needs those for their batteries.
That's right. That's right.
So yeah, 5 pennies for a nickel. There you go. Free up the nickels for. But this allows for a smaller share price, which allows for more individual investors easier access to buy an entire share. There's several trading platforms like Robinhood and others that allow you to buy partial shares, but not all of them do. And especially outside of the US, a lot of them do not. Most do not. And there's something to be said about owning a whole share instead of a quarter of a share. So if you've only got, $300 and you're on a platform that allows you to have zero commission trades, then why not pick up a share every month if that's what your budget can afford and dollar cost average your way in? Not that I'm giving stock advice. That's not.
No.
I'm just talking about the benefits of a lower share price. And it is funny how, as I said, there's really no difference to the company's fundamentals. But if a company is splitting, then they have some, that the board approved that, which means they don't expect the stock to have a major backslide anytime in the future. And just historically, looking at companies that split versus companies that do reverse splits, I would much rather be in the first camp than the second camp. So it's good news, and the stock market not acknowledged it as so by having the stock go up 10 or 12% today. So that's great news. And if you're a shareholder, congratulations on quintupling your number of shares.
Exactly. The number of shares in your portfolio will increase by the end of the month. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the dates are. Casey, do you happen to know those?
So next Friday, it's a closing date, and then the Friday after that is the award date, and then Monday is where we can exercise in our accounts.
Okay, so you still got a few more a week and a little bit more before
if you want to jump in
before anything finishes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it doesn't matter if you buy them before or after. I've been buying since their IPO and buying and selling, and more buying than selling. And this is great news.
Fantastic.
And as Patrick said, this is pretty quick compared to some other stocks that do this. That could take a whole quarter.
Right.
Okay. Next on the docket this week is some regulatory issues. Casey's going to share a couple of them with us today. What's this about?
Well, let's start with Germany. They have ruled in a court case that the touchscreen permanently installed in the vehicle of the Tesla brand is an electronic device. Since statute 23 para it stops. It doesn't matter what the purpose of the driver pursues with the operation. The settings of the function are required to operate a motor vehicle with the touchscreen. Basically, what they're saying is it's dangerous to use the little flip cards, bottom left, or in the right-hand drive cards, the bottom right of the Model 3 touchscreen to operate the windshield wipers. Which it seems ridiculous on the face of it. I mean, my Volt, everything was a touchscreen, even if it were plastic. And the implications are that Tesla's going to have to make some modifications, but at the same time, they could start by literally just deleting the card and going from there, because you've got your pulse wiper, and then you've got your voice command. You just have to hope that you speak one of the languages that the car understands. But what I think would be easier would be if they were to say, like, do a long press on the wipers to change their state. If you don't have this is all predicated on not having the automatic wipers on to begin with.
Yeah.
Because it's got those on every Model 3. And then one of the commenters on the article that we linked from suggested that perhaps as soon as you hit that single wipe, the screen flip to the wipers card, and then you can use a scroll wheel to scroll through your settings.
So you don't have to touch the screen at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a nice little add if because it does bring up the card right now. If you hit the single wipe button, the card does pop up, so you can change the speed pretty easily without. It's just a glance to see where to tap. It's not like you have to go menu, select, wipers, speed. It's not that complicated. But like you said, Casey, if right now I think a long press cleans the window, but you could do something like a double tap or a triple tap, or that's the nice thing about it being software is they can come up with something clever and make it much more usable. As you said, voice commands are an option. Click the button and say wipe faster, wipe slower, automatic wipers, whatever you want to say. That they should add support for any of those voice commands that they don't already have.
Yeah, I was surprised that the legacy cars actually got some of those commands as well. I particularly like wipe slower.
Mm-hmm.
Wipe faster is very easy for it, but it's usually a little too fast for me. I'm like, slow down now. And because once the wipers get to a certain cadence. The full self-drive navigate on autopilot turns off.
What?
Yeah, it's interesting
Yeah.
that
It just goes to basic autopilot.
unlike traditional car manufacturers, they have this software ace in the hole. They can go back to it. They can make changes. They can modify it for even a certain region, a certain country compared to others.
Right.
Very interesting how this is going to play out, and kind of leads us into the next regulatory story. What's that, Casey?
It sure does. But speaking of other manufacturers, I found out that one of the German companies that bragged on their software, you still have to go into the dealership for the major upgrades. So you get your bug fixes over the air, but to actually get the next version, you got to go in, give them money.
Right. Yeah, because the big releases use too much bandwidth, and they don't want to have to pay for all that cellular activity. But if you're at home and on Wi-Fi, I don't see why they still make you go to the dealership.
That's what Tesla did.
They did.
Well, I mean, no, Tesla, switched it from doing it all over the air to saying, "Hey, for big ones, you got to be at home."
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. But we're talking about Porsche, right? To have them say you have to go to the dealership is just ridiculous.
Yeah, and then their other argument was, "Oh well, even if you use Wi-Fi, we still have to make sure that all the chips are up to date." Well, that's the last thing my car does is it does a checksum. Are all the chips up to date to the right version? And if they're not,
that's not a good idea. That someone at the dealership has to check that. Maybe they should run some diagnostics before they actually do an update.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, this should not be a manual process.
Yeah. So we were talking about regulations, and to switch it from Germany, let's go to Hong Kong now. So Tesla Arcade has been disabled in Hong Kong because of local restrictions.
When you're parked, why do they care what you do?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not like in Hong Kong the arcade worked when you were driving, right? Like that didn't happen.
Right.
So what does it matter that the arcade is this Nintendo saying it's unfair competition?
Yeah, are all arcades illegal in Hong Kong?
Right. But I mean, when you look at it, like Honda and Kia, their minivans have the ability to play a TV in the back while the car is in motion.
Mm-hmm.
And depending on which one you're talking about, some of them have stuff in the screen when you're in park. How is that any different than having stuff on the screen when you're in park on this screen?
Yeah, like I could see the police opening the minivan and pulling the DVD. Like, just say, sorry, you can't do that.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the same country that required them to full autopilot back for a little while, and I'm just not understanding it.
Yeah, you could make an argument that autopilot, they were concerned about the safety while someone's on the road and driving, and that it was beta software. Yeah,
What's funny with that one was all it took was an explanation from the company on how it works before they turned it back on.
Yeah, I think this might be the same thing. It doesn't work while you're driving. Oh, okay, then you can turn it back on.
Yeah, sorry.
That reminds me of Senator Markey. Senator Markey, I promised you a ride in my car. We'll show you how autopilot works.
There you go.
He still hasn't responded, huh?
No, he hasn't responded. Nor of his people.
Maybe one of the regulators is like me, and they've been playing Fallout Shelter way too much, and they're just like, let's just disable the whole thing.
This guy's not being productive anymore. We need to take the arcade away.
I hope they retain your save games. That way, when you come back after they figure it out,
crazy.
I'm gonna have to leave halfway through the show and go check on my people in the shelter just to let you know.
I would be interested to see if there's a movement on this arcade thing. I just don't understand it. If the car's parked and it's not moving, what does it matter? Maybe they misunderstood it. Maybe they believe that if the car is just not moving at a stoplight, that you can play the arcade game. But of course, you can't do that. So this is pretty bizarre. But
I wonder if one of the local TV or YouTubers there pulled one of the pranks, like the fake sleeping in your car while the car was on autopilot. They pretended they were playing the game while the car was moving.
Maybe.
Or they saw beach buggy racing and thought that you could do that while driving down the road, even though it uses the brake pedal.
Well, we'll have to keep our eye on it, but that's pretty bizarre, this one, for sure. I can see the German one, but this Hong Kong one is just out in left field as far as I could see.
Yeah,
I
so the
imagine.
German one, so the person actually did end up going off the road and crashing.
Yeah.
So if you're driving in a car, you should be familiar with all the normal operations, how the turn signals work, how the windshield wipers work, how to do that quickly and not have to stop and look at it. And if you have your eyes off the road for 20 seconds, something bad could happen. So you should have enough muscle memory to know how to do that stuff at a glance. Make sure you practice it ahead of time and not like, oh, it's raining now and I can't see, and now how do I do this? That's not the time to figure it out.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't they ship with auto by default, or do you have to turn on auto?
I don't
That's
know.
a good question. Don't know if they do or not.
And
I was before auto, so I can't tell you.
That's true. You had to turn it on like me. So yeah, because we both had the same situation where Patrick's Model X shipped with a rain sensor, like my Model S had.
yes, exactly.
But my Model X and your Model 3 and Mark's Model 3 all shipped without that 12-cent sensor.
Yeah.
So they use the cameras to determine when to do the wipes.
Yeah, with deep rain.
Deep rain now. They weren't using deep rain
rain.
initially. They were using something else that was really whack.
Well, we'll keep our eye on it and see if any other country comes up with a crazy regulation. But so far, Hong Kong's got the gold medal. We'll see. We'll see as it goes along.
I think it'll take a while longer than the AP did because this one doesn't. It's more of an ancillary feature. It's not something you paid $7,000 for.
No rest for Tesla's lawyers. They're going to be in court fighting all these.
Our next story is about wrapping.
Wrappings.
Yeah, Patrick is our wrapper expert.
About to give us some wrapping there.
Apparently, it's not that type of wrapping.
Right. Yes. So as you know, Tesla has a factory in China, and they're cranking out cars. And now one of the services that's offered is that you can get your car wrapped. So what I don't know is if this is considered something from the service center or if it's something you could roll into your car payment. But it would be cool if you could just order it that way at order time and have it rolled into your monthly payment. It's a pretty neat idea. It gives you a whole lot more color options. It does it without adding a bunch of work to their paint factory. If you're going to get your car wrapped anyway, you can just pick the default color. I think this white now is the one that's no extra cost. And then on delivery day, you can get it in canary yellow or sky blue or whatever of the myriad of colors they offer for wraps.
Barney purple.
Barney purple, yes. All chrome, black matte, whatever you want. Yeah. And there's so many different colors of wraps. The thing that I was thinking about is, okay, so they're offering this now here. I hope that the trial goes well, and if it means that people are not going to be complaining about paint defects, great. And when the Cybertruck comes, that's not painted. So if you want it colorful, hey, then that's the time that this could roll out with Cybertruck in the U.S. and other parts of the world too. That would be pretty cool. So hopefully this goes well and grows.
It's interesting how they picked the Chinese market as a start for this. I wonder why that market was picked.
Newfound wealth, same crazy people we have here that go into the paint department with their micrometers. Two birds with one stone.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
All right.
If they do bring it here and if they do offer it on Cybertruck, I'd probably get a matte clear just because I don't like the idea of brightly shiny cars on the road. I hate getting behind chrome cars on a sunny day.
I don't know if it's going to be all that bright. Like it's kind of a brushed aluminum look, so it's not.
It is brushed in steel, but I imagine that that I would be then that guy that I don't like riding behind on the road on a sunny day.
Possibly.
Yeah, but
yeah. If you want a matte, there you go. Now you have an option for it. Yeah,
I have an option. But you brought up the point of paying for it because these wraps they go anywhere from $1,000 to $7,000 on a Model X size vehicle. I've got a clear wrap on mine. If it's on the car when you get the keys, then you can get it in your loan. But It
Right.
depends on if they consider you having the keys or not when they send it off, because Tesla does like to do stuff differently than the traditional manufacturers.
Here's a question. Say you have a car and it comes in white, and then you get it wrapped after the fact. What do you have to tell the DMV?
Oh, you do have to update it with the DMV. And the question is, will Tesla make the car color match on your screen?
That's a more important question than the
Oh
DMV.
yeah, that's a really good question.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
a nice little Easter egg that most likely will happen, I would
Yeah.
imagine. But if you register it with the DMV with a color change and then you take the wrap off 3 years later, I guess you have to do it again. Say, okay,
Yeah,
now
you
it's
have
back to white.
Re-register.
Okay.
Yeah, and then are they going to add all these colors to the Punch Buggy game?
That would
There
be
you
fun.
go. Another perplexing question.
Yeah.
Well, on to the next. There was an article written by Inside EVs, which is really a quoting an Evanex article that talked a little bit about Tesla's obsession with manufacturing that's starting to pay off for the company. And this kind of just goes through the history of Tesla's manufacturing. Of course, the trip through hell, which started with the Model 3. And of course, the tent fiasco, or as we know, the pop-up structure, and
Sprung structure.
the song. Can't even remember that.
Sorry.
The sprung structure, and of course the modifications of the lines, and then moving ultimately to the point of China, Shanghai being finished, and putting a different spin on the manufacturing line and how it's set up. Compared to Fremont, which of course was a factory that was purchased from Toyota, and they did not have the ability to set up the factory before that point because it was already built. But the article just kind of goes through the progression of Tesla's manufacturing, how it's gotten better, and what steps they've taken to get better. And just kind of an interesting retrospect of what's been going on for the past I would say 4 years now, whereas we've got this different build process that's going on. Of course, the speed has picked up. They've gone through manufacturing hell and popped out on the other side looking better than ever. And this article just kind of points out those milestones as things happen, and just kind of interesting to read. Of course, the three of us and many of our listeners and viewers, of course, have lived it. And been watching and waiting based on cars that we had on order, wondering how they were going to turn out, and curious as to how things would look when we finally received them, and how long it would take for them to start to ramp up those production amounts. But it was a fun ride. Like it certainly kept our interest for sure as we went through those different milestones.
Mine was delivered in a hurricane.
There you go. There you go.
So he was running around Alabama. I was running around Florida.
He ordered it in South Carolina, and he picked it up in New York.
I picked it up in North Carolina. It was supposed to be a home or office delivery, but the hurricane threw their schedule for a loop. I like how the first comment was the guy complaining about paint. Yeah, no, literally. The first comment was the guy complaining about paint, and then the next one is the guy saying, "Did you even read the article?"
One thing I did like about the article is they pointed out how Henry Ford's innovation wasn't the Model T. Right. It was the factory line to make the Model T. So that machine that builds the machine comment that Musk has said many times over, that really is what makes a great company. And they go through, was it Kanban or lean manufacturing, the Toyota way, all these methods that's what actually makes a great car company. Is even more important than their cars is the methods they use to make those cars, because that's what defines your quality. That's what defines your actual cost at the end, how many hours of labor it takes. Those points are why I'm really concerned, or I don't know if concern is the right word, but there are several startups now that are coming out that say, oh, we're going to contract our manufacturing. And so they're not even going to be manufacturing their own stuff. I'm really worried that that means that they're never going to be high volume. They're never going to be high quality. They're never going to be cost competitive. So that's why, I don't know if any of those companies that say they're going to outsource their manufacturing can ever really be competitive. But we'll see.
They would have to go with somebody like a Magna that does have experience building the whole car. But then we saw what happened when Ford did that. They still were low volume because they didn't want to pay their contractor for all of that work. But at least we could see it was quality. But when we saw what happened when Tesla tried that, the quality was not there at all. They were so much rebuilding. The car was taking trips around the world in crates, and they eventually brought it all in house and said, let's just do this right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, owning your own destiny is the only way to make sure that all of the incentives align.
Yeah. So, and of course, the manufacturing journey is not over. The modifications, the improvements are still in front of us when it comes to Berlin, when it comes to Austin. There are lessons learned already that are going to be applied to those builds as well. And new lines to be put in place will include those lessons learned and hopefully serve the company well as well. So,
as Evanek said, when you can design everything from the ground up to build your device, your machine, the machine that builds the machine, there
is
are
such a meta statement.
It is.
I love it.
And now you have the machine that makes the machine that makes the machine. But so at Giga China, I forget now. They're Beijing, Beijing, Shanghai. They because in the States it's the city, the state, and in the outside of the States it's the
city outside of the States. It's the state inside of the States.
Yeah. So
except Austin is not. Is it Giga Austin or Giga Texas?
It should be Giga Texas, according to what Elon had said. Like. 6 months ago. So it could be anything, Patrick. You're right. It could be anything.
But the alliteration of Terra Texas is just perfect.
That's true.
But with that one coming in, they learned the lessons from China. Like as we see in China, the paint and everything is coming out way better than it is here in the States. And now Berlin is coming in. It's getting done prefab. It's coming in. They're just bolting it in place, which is phenomenal. And then we're going to see them do something similar in Austin. It's going to be two-spec, and as Evanek said, they're not having to adapt around. Oh, well, the line makes a U shape here, or we had this crazy left-hand turn in the factory there. We just couldn't get around it. Right now, Elon did an interview right about the time that my Model X was getting built, where the robot literally hands the car over. There's a sky bridge, and it was just in the way. So they have a robot whose job is literally to hand the car over the sky bridge to another robot who picks it up and puts it back on the line. That is inefficient.
A waste of time and resources. Absolutely.
And a chance to drop a whole car.
Yeah, well, that too. That adds excitement to a person's day, though.
Yes.
I wouldn't want to be going to the sky bridge when the car falls off.
Yeah, exactly. Next, quick story about actually local to me. Model Y has just the lease option has been turned on here in Canada. So some businesses and others who want to lease now have the availability to lease that model just as of last week, or middle of this week, I guess beginning of this week, meant to say. So another option for the Model Y, if you're looking for one, lease is now available to you in Canada.
Yeah, and depending on your financial situation, leasing can be a great savings over purchasing, depending on how you use the car and how long you keep it and how much you pay. Especially something like these cars where they change every other week, like something is different. Mm-hmm. And if you want the new features, you don't have to worry about, am I going to get the upgrade? Oh, it's been 3 years. Here's my next payment. I want a yellow one this time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my plan has always been to buy a car and keep it for 10 years and then buy another one. And 10 years is a long time in Tesla time because they make so many improvements. Yeah, I've had my current Model X for 4 years now, and I'm thinking, you know what? It might be time to upgrade. Maybe I should have leased it instead of buying it.
Oh my goodness!
Get you on two ends of the Tesla strip. The
You
one
got
thing
6 more years, Patrick. You can't even think about it for at least 5. So
Right?
you're strapped in for the long term.
I'm strapped in for
But
5
that's
as well.
that's
so
my
we're not-
plan as well.
Yeah.
The Model 3 is now 2 years old, and it's got another 8 years before I do anything with it. But I understand the itch. I understand
Mhm.
seeing the new stuff come out and going, geez, it'd be awfully nice to have that as opposed to what I have. So,
Right.
and that's how people that's how companies sell cars. Like that's
Right.
just
Yeah.
that's part of the reasoning. But
The-
with
the-
at least with Tesla, we get to hang in a little bit longer with the new stuff because of those software updates.
Exactly.
And
That's very true.
it makes things a little less painful in the long run because you're still getting that new car feeling, every time that update has been released.
The
Right.
one thing to look at with Tesla leasing on Model 3 and Model Y is you don't have the option that you get on typical leases and on the Model S and Model X. At the end of the purchase, you must turn the car in. You have no option to buy. So at that point, if you go over on your miles with a regular car, you can say, "Oh, I've gone 50,000 miles over. I'm just going to
Oh,
buy
just
the car
buy it.
for
Yeah.
$20,000 or whatever, instead of paying $50,000 in overage fees." On the Model 3 and the Model Y, that is not an option. You'll have to pay those overage fees and turn the car in.
It'll be interesting to see because theoretically that's up in about a year. It's
Right.
some of the
It's already up
3-year
for some people.
leases are going to be up in about a year. So I've got a feeling that a few people will be offered to keep the car. I don't think they're going to take them all in a
Oh,
year.
like if the car is in bad shape or too many miles?
I think there's probably a number of reasons that they won't, but I don't think they're going to be taking the majority of them in off of lease and keeping them. I think there's going to be resells of those cars.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
as an owner, you can't count on that. And
Right, you couldn't count on it. Yeah.
Right, and because typically you had the 3 options: you could turn it in with no problems with the car, or if the residual value they gave you was significantly higher than the value of the car, say they thought the car would be worth 20 and it's really worth 40, you could then buy the car for the 20, and you've got $20,000 in profit right there. Or if you went over your miles, you could buy it for the miles, or you could just pay the miles. If you only went, say, 100 miles over, you could just pay, all right, here's $100. You can take your car back and get something new.
Yeah.
But 2 of those options are gone with not being able to buy the car.
Right, but I think the primary reason they were planning on taking all the leases back was for the robotaxi fleet, which is not a thing yet. So unless they need cars for a boring tunnel, you're probably going to buy it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Las
boring
Vegas
tunnel is their only hope.
cars.
Yes.
Uh,
Well, he still hasn't backed off of that December, so we'll see.
Yeah, should be
we shall
exciting.
see. We shall see. Next story is that Beijing gets their first V3 Supercharger, and I believe it's the first in China. Came to Beijing recently, and the V3s are starting to roll out there. Question for the two of you: I didn't know this, but has Europe gotten V3s yet?
Yes, they're all CCS.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say they have to be CCS there.
So so China was the last large market to get the version 3 superchargers, but now they're starting to roll out, so that's great.
Yeah, I'm curious which connector they use, because all the cars in China have 2 connectors. In fact, on the legacy cars, they actually have what looks like a metal fuel door that pops out of the body. That's got the Tesla connector and China connector.
Yeah.
And on the Model 3 and Model Y, they've done kind of got staggered, so they fit underneath that huge flap you guys have.
Right.
Yeah.
Next, Casey's got a story about a fire department in Maine.
Yes.
Here.
So the Kennebunk, hoping I'm saying it correctly, fire department, their chief was due to get himself a new Tahoe Suburban, and at the last minute he decided that, since we've got all these green mandates and they cost about the same, why don't I just go with a dual motor long range Model 3? And they told him no, because it cost $5,000 more. He's like, well, what about the fuel savings, and what about you've got these incentives for buying electric, and just because the state is the one giving the award doesn't mean that one of the state entities couldn't then use that award. So they found a program that the car fit in, and they think they stepped down one tier from where he was trying to go for option, and the car then fit, so it was only $2,000 more than the truck. And year one, they're going to get the savings back. And
Awesome.
With the miles he drives, the maintenance, it's going to be perfect for them. And now it fits with the city's green initiatives as well. So that was pretty cool. So he got it in white, and they got the decals and lettering put on the side. I guess his place doesn't use the red, or maybe the red would have put it back outside of the budget.
Yeah, so we've got another first responding department has tried the Model 3. Now this obviously is not a fire truck. It's a command vehicle, right? It's something that the chief would use to accelerate to I guess a scene faster than the trucks. It's also used apparently in public forums to promote the fire department and what they do, and probably go to schools and all that kind of stuff, PR stuff that fire departments do as well throughout the year.
And I believe the article touched on and said that the chief also loans it out. So like if one of them's got to go get donuts or whatever, the package, he'll send the firefighter out in his car instead. Or if they've got four people that need to go to a training, they'll take the Model 3 instead of one of the trucks to go, not the fire truck, but one of the SUVs to go to class. Yeah.
There's something poetic about the fire department not using internal combustion.
Yeah. But their job is to put out fires, so if they can cause one less fire, then the better.
Yes. The fire department puts out the fire, the internal combustion fire.
Yes, exactly.
That's a good article title,
yeah. Next story to touch upon is a little bit of a surprise. We touched on this last week or the week before about South Korea having a record amount of Tesla sales in the previous month. And it might have been too much, because what has happened now is that the South Korean government is looking at the amount of the incentive that they give out for EVs. And they've noticed that over half the incentive has gone to a single company, being Tesla. So they're looking at this, going, obviously they'd like to support businesses in their own country that manufacture cars as well, and they're looking at Tesla mopping up with most of the incentive, the majority of it, and they're considering rolling back the incentive that Tesla won't be able to apply for it. Maybe by lowering the price of the EV, maybe by banning Tesla in some other way. But kind of interesting that, and we know Tesla tends to dominate the EV market. It's a car that people want to own. It's an aspirational car that people want that particular brand because of what they see and how it responds and how it operates. It has become the overwhelming favorite in almost all countries across the world when it comes to an EV car, if not even over a regular gas car. So this is certainly successful for Tesla, but it's interesting how South Korea has shone the light on it, going, you know what? Maybe we need to scale back so we're not looking like we're favoring Tesla. Well, you know what? You're not favoring Tesla. Your consumer is actually picking the other car. If you make it that car doesn't apply anymore because of some arbitrary rule, you're just ruining the consumer choice ability in your country, because given the choice, it's obvious that they would like to choose the Tesla if they're given that choice over the other cars. So I hope that they look at what the market is asking for and will allow the continuation of the market to be able to pick its own free choice.
Yeah, and if this is structured the same way it's structured elsewhere in the world, time and time again, we see it's not actually going to Tesla. They always argue, oh, Tesla's taking the money. It doesn't go to the manufacturer. It goes to your citizen, your people. They get a discount out of their taxes, out of their pocket, depending on if it's instant or if it's off the taxes, and that allows them to then spend that much more money in your economy and spread it around a little better. And they're picking what they feel is the superior product. Yes, you may have two large companies in your country that make the similar product, but obviously the customer isn't picking them, and they also qualify for the same discount. So you should probably support your citizenry or make those other guys have something to bring them up, because what's going to happen if they do the same blueprint as everybody else around the world? They're going to cut this thing down, and they're going to see what happened in Germany, what happened in Canada. They're going to say, oh, well, you can only do this dollar. Tesla then turns the whole car into a freaking downloadable option, and then the customer still buys it and upgrades the option after the fact.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you can't upgrade the option in Canada. If you
Well,
bought
they learned
that dumbed down car, then that's it. Sorry.
Yeah.
But that did get them in the door of having a car at a lower price and saying, okay, some extra options now can go above the price that's stated, because there is a baseline car that you could buy for that amount of money. But
Exactly.
they would have to jump through some hoops to make it happen. But I think the important thing to point out here is that people they're buying with their money still, and they're weighing the options that are in front of them. They're looking at, what does car A offer, what does car B offer, and what does car C offer? You know what? It should spur the other automakers to have a better offering. It should spur others to lift their offering based on them seeing what the market is actually picking when it's left to its own devices.
Right. And this is what they keep saying. Oh, capitalism. Let the best one win. Blah, blah, blah. Well, it's winning. Yes, it's going to be hard. If somebody's got the better product and yours is miles behind, you got some work to do. But if it's all the same, you're going to have to either trick them into joining your laggard crew or
get better quicker.
Yeah. And those are your only two choices.
Yeah. If the country's goal is electric cars on the road, then don't worry about which type people are buying. Let them buy the one they want. If it's to support some local brand, then write the law that way. Don't try to finagle it in some dollar value cap or whatever. Just make it like these apply to cars built in our country, period, or whatever.
Yeah, China did that. Only made in China qualify. So Tesla built a factory.
Right. Yeah.
So you made jobs, and they still get the electric cars, and they get what they want. So, I mean, what's to stop them from building a factory in South Korea?
The way the number of factories they're building, who knows? It could be next.
It could happen. Yeah.
Next, there's been a story about dynamic brake lights. This, of course, is the option that when the software is updated, the car, if there's a sudden deceleration, a hard press of the brake, like a panic brake, the brakes will not just turn on, but what they'll do is they'll flash. And the idea is to get the attention of people behind you that are so used to just seeing brake lights. But a flashing brake light in quick succession will draw attention to it and let people know there's a panic stop that's happening in front of them at this time. And this, of course, is to reduce the rear collisions that happened, on a highway or other places where there's a number of cars in close proximity to each other. Gives that driver behind some extra time to react because they're seeing something new, something that's drawing their attention. Again, this could be an issue that when all cars have dynamic braking lights and everybody's lights are flashing all at the same time, we may be back in the same boat. But right now, this is something to draw attention to and allow people more time to react to what they're seeing that's new in front of them. And this story was just indicating that Tesla's looking to roll this out into more regions than they originally had thought about in order to help with safety. They want other regions to benefit from the dynamic braking in regions that will allow this type of modification to the car's braking light system.
Yeah, earlier, I want to say earlier this year or a year ago, they rolled this out in Europe. So depending on where it is, if it's legal, so this shouldn't have that same blindness or fatigue because it only comes on during the panic stop. And so if you're seeing this, you need to be stopping.
This could save lives. This could save, just whiplash or even just vehicle damage and the pain of dealing with the insurance and all that. So this is great. If it improves safety, if it saves one person, it's worth it.
Yeah. So depending on the jurisdiction that the car that this software is rolling out into, it could either lead to an overdriving of the brake lights, so they'll be brighter than they are normally. They'll come on with proportion to the force that the car is stopping with. Other jurisdictions, it will flash. all of the lights. In the U.S., it's not legal to do that, so they will flash and intensify the high mount, the center high mount brake light, and they will also roll in the flashers to it. So after the car comes to a complete stop, it will now turn on the hazard lights. So that way, anybody who doesn't see you make your panic stop now can see your lights flashing and say, "Oh, what's up with that?" And they, "Oh, it's in my lane. I should probably stop or change lanes." And and they
I
will
should
stay
put
on.
down my arcade.
And they will continue to flash until such time that either the driver reaches up or down, depending on what car you're in, turns off the flashers, or you start going again. Once you start going with the accelerator, then they will resume normal operation.
Yep. So anything, as Patrick mentioned, that helps safety-wise, if it saves anybody, personal injury or damage to your vehicle, it's going to be a plus across the board. So more power to them. Hopefully, it rolls out to all the regions that can support it, and regulators allow it. That would be great.
We should probably look into some of these stupid laws in the U.S. that stop us from doing safe things with our lights and mirrors. I mean, we can't have laser headlights, or we can just barely get them now. You couldn't have headlights that moved for a while, and all this stuff that they use to get rid of Tucker, it's just coming back to bite us time and time again.
Yep, need to work on that, definitely. Hopefully the next administration will be able to, to do some stuff.
This is
me speaking as a Canadian only, of course. Someone's just watching from the outside. But
Mark's like, I'd like to go on vacation again.
Yeah, it doesn't look like that's going to be happening south of the border anytime soon. But interesting.
I was just going to say, this is just another example of software. So because these are software programmable cars, when they come up with a cool idea like this, they don't have to wait until next year's model. They can say, hey, this is an improvement, roll it out to all of the fleet that they can, and that then the whole fleet is a lot safer. So yeah, great, another good example.
A recent one they did with this was the optical aware acceleration. After all these people kept running into walls, Tesla's like, well, we'll give you this option. That way, if you're prone to pedal confusion or just running into walls, we'll now make it harder for your car to run people and hard obstacles over. And so the pedal gets like jello for a little bit if it thinks you're trying to run over a person or a wall. And then if you keep it up, it'll apply it. But at that point, you've had time to realize what you're up to.
I do have to mention, though, Casey, that you can't fix stupid.
It's true.
You can try, but someone's going to out-stupid you, I'm sure.
You make it harder.
But no, I'm joking. Having some of these extra things certainly helps all. So, speaking of helping all, Giga Berlin is exploding on the construction front because of what we've mentioned in the past, modular construction. Even on this show, modular construction is happening at Giga Berlin. We now have 3 different buildings that are currently under construction there. We've got the body in white, we've got the drive unit, and one more miscellaneous building that is currently under construction there. And what they're doing is they're trucking this stuff in just in time, dropping off. Like once the pillars had gone up, now the trusses for the roof and the concrete walls are just arriving by pallets, just in time, and being lifted in place and dropped in with cranes. So the construction is really kicking into high gear there. And again, we talked about how no one would be able to touch the Chinese build cycle. This might touch it. This has a possibility of doing that. So we're certainly watching the videos that come out throughout the weeks with interest as this goes along, and we will certainly keep you abreast as to those changes and how they're approaching the milestones of completing construction at different buildings.
I remember us all going back and saying, "No, there's no way they'll touch the Chinese.
I know.
Close, or they've got regs."
Exactly.
And then the Germans kept insisting, "No, we're going to beat the Chinese. We're going to beat the Chinese."
We're
like, "You guys are crazy."
The Germans were ready to go, man. Yeah. They knew the challenge. But it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting as we get a little closer, or more into the midst of the construction full term.
Yeah, and once the shell is up, I wonder if it'll be similar, where they'll just Like, all right, here's the line. Just go bolt it in place at these coordinates.
Right, right.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you'll slide in just out of a pallet. Just push it along the floor. It's already assembled, ready to go.
Right.
4 bolts in the corner, and it's ready.
You get that body stamper press, the combo thing, where they pour in the liquid aluminum.
Exactly. And our last
Yes.
story of the evening goes to Patrick about some destination charging changes that could be coming.
Oh, is this one mine?
No,
Oh.
it was mine.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Casey, sorry.
It's all right. So Tesla's been reaching out to destination charging hosts. So businesses like movie theaters, grocery stores, hotels and inns, bed and breakfasts, to get them to upgrade their destination chargers from the 100 amp units to the new Gen 3, because they are just now starting to roll out a Wi-Fi update for these things that will allow charging. So basically, it'll work just like a supercharger. Plug in, your car will say, "Hey, it's me. I'm number 1000," and it'll charge your credit card. And they're going to let the site owners participate. They didn't say exactly if they would set the whole rate or if it would be just a discount, but whatever it is now, instead of being totally on the hook for the electricity, if they choose to participate in this program, they'll be able to get some or all or even a profit back from the electricity, which just makes it easier, especially as revenues are shifted throughout the world right now, to make it more justifiable to expand this rollout. Like maybe they've got 8 spots already, and they say, "Oh no, we'll keep the old ones, but go ahead and give us 12 more."
Right. The cool thing about this is once they have the wired systems in there, or wireless, the ones that can communicate instead of the wall chargers today that are just wall connectors, excuse me, that are not can't communicate. You can't tell if the spots are available. Right. So when you look at a supercharger, it'll say 5 of 12 stalls available. And so you know whether or not you can go get a spot. So it'd be cool if they start adding this feature to destination charging as well. So say you roll up to a hotel and you need to charge, but you're going to be staying there for a couple days anyway, and they're full when you get there. So now if instead you can check on the app while you're sitting by the pool, and then when you see a spot open, go plug in for the night and get charged up so you can go have some fun the next day. That's a whole lot nicer than getting up from whatever you're doing and going and looking and say, "Oh nope, still taken." So yeah, this is and as long as they're charging a reasonable fee for electricity, it's cheap. So that's not that big a deal. I don't mind if they charge a small amount. In fact, when we did our 7 Wonders of Oregon tour, when we were looking for places to stay, we were always looking for spots that had destination chargers, and we stayed at one in Prairie City, and it was a nice like 1920s hotel, and in their garage they had a regular J1772 and a Tesla wall connector. So that was great.
Yeah, my grandmother's bed and breakfast has 2 of the Gen 1 wall connectors and 1 of the Clipper Creeks.
Right.
And,
very good.
Yeah,
I certainly like that idea to be able to pull up your Tesla app and see that the charger's available or it's not. That is certainly going to be a game changer for many people that are going to these hotels and such, where really right now it's kind of hit and miss. You don't know if you're going to get the ability to use that charger at all.
And you don't know the rates.
And then of course, what it also does is they could put those you've stayed beyond your time limit extra charges. So people are aware that their car's not just sitting there plugged in for an extended period of time when it's not even charging. So those type of penalties could be rolled into this as well, and that would benefit all that are charging on the road.
And it'll also clear up the pricing concerns as well, because right now the host still sets the pricing, but it's like, guests only, or only if you buy food, or if you don't stay, it's going to cost this much. If you do stay, it'll cost this much, or if you do stay, it's free. They can put all that logic into the maps like they do on the supercharger. But what was interesting to me is that is now one of the first upgrades that is kind of, it's not exactly, but it's rolling out between the Powerwall, the gateway, the car, and the charger, well, the connection. And that's pretty cool. So if you have a home unit, what it's doing is on the Powerwall and the car, they'll talk to each other, and they'll make sure that the Powerwall doesn't overload if you're trying to charge during a power outage. But then they've also got the same functionality built in where the Powerwall and the charger can talk directly to each other on the Gen 3s. And then at the destinations, they can talk back to the wider network, which is even cooler.
Yeah, once all these things are connected, they can just continue to get smarter as we come up with, oh, here's a case that it didn't handle very well. All right, yeah, let's code that up and make sure that is like an outage. The car, depending on how far it's discharged, could suck down 3 or 4 or 5 power walls worth of juice. So say no, I need that to run my refrigerator and my lights because the power's out. So and if as the user you get to set that, no, I'm going to be leaving tomorrow, I have to fully charge, and if we lose power tonight, no big deal. Or you could have it the other way, I'm not going to be driving, let's just worry about the house and let's not charge the car. So it's really cool. They're adding all this intelligence to allow these things to communicate and talk to each other.
But even better than that is once the power is out, they can then say you've got Tesla Solar or any solar that the gateway can talk to. They can now meter out your charge at the same level of solar input that you're receiving. So you're not touching the battery at all. You're charging solely from the sun. And the cool thing about this is they can do it without extra equipment because the charger on the car itself is already extremely capable. And with the Wi-Fi connection is all it's missing. So talk directly back. And that also goes for the power share. So say you've got 2 to 8 of these units, you can run them all off of one circuit instead of having to put that circuitry for sharing in the unit, which allows Tesla to make them cheaper, and it makes it quicker and easier for your electrician to install it, so it's cheaper for you.
Yeah,
it's better all around.
Very cool.
Okay, well, with that, that wraps up this week's show. If you haven't already, please give us a thumbs up on the video. Subscribe if you haven't already. That helps us out, gets us in front of more eyeballs. And with that, Mr. Green, any shoutouts?
Yes, so visit me at youtube.com/CaseyGreen. That's KACEYGREEN. I've just put up a review of the first brand new gas station to roll out with no gas pumps. It's all a Tesla Supercharger and a convenience store. That is over in Vienna, Virginia, and you'll see that over on my YouTube channel.
I will definitely be checking that one out. Mr. Connor, any shoutouts from you today?
Sure. I write occasionally at carswithcords.net. You can check that out. And I am with the Oregon Electric Vehicle Association. You can find them at oeva.org. Thanks.
Fantastic. Well, everyone, thanks for watching. Tune in next week and find out what's going on in the Tesla life.
Give us a thumbs up, subscribe.
Stay charged, stay safe.
Wash your hands.